One of the best parts about sewing is being able to personalize and customize everything you make, including your jeans. This video is all about many different ways that you can easily customize your jeans for that make that you would never be able to find in the store. If you've been following along here at Love Notions, you know that we just released the Crescendo Jeans sewing pattern. It is a pull-on jeans pattern that uses stretch fabric, and it has 4 different leg styles: flare, boot cut, straight, and skinny. Now, each one of those styles is wonderful on its own, but what if we wanted to step up that make a little bit and get some of our personality onto our pieces? This is one of the best parts about sewing, of course. So let's talk about tons of different ways that you can personalize your jeans, from the simplest way possible to something a little bit more complex. Let's go. To begin, let's start by talking about embroidery. Now, recently I have gotten into the embroidery game, and while I am absolutely no expert, I have absolutely loved the process. Embroidery is such a accessible, quick, beautiful way to add personalization to your sewing pieces. Recently, my mom got me this incredible embroidery kit. It's called Ingrid's Wildflowers, and it's created by Missouri Star Quilt Company. And we're going to be heading to a retreat there at the beginning of April. And in honor of the retreat, my mom bought me this adorable kit. It has 12 designs with all the instructions and all the tools and all of everything that you could need to create beautiful embroidery pieces, and it's intended to be put onto a quilt because it is from the Missouri Star Quilt Company, but I decided to use that embroidery design on the back patch pockets of the new crescendos for both Tammy and myself. And to say that this was a satisfying process is inadequate. It was such a lovely way to personalize those jeans into something I would never be able to find in stores, and it's such a conversation piece. So let me show you a little bit and maybe some ideas for how you could include embroidery on your own pair of jeans, either the crescendos or any of the other jeans that you might be creating at home.
When it comes to placing your embroidery, I love the back patch pockets for it, but I also think any edge area is beautiful for embroidery, or you could even do on the main pieces. I would just make sure that I do those before I've sewn everything together. Also, because we are using stretch woven fabric for this jeans pattern, I would absolutely interface whatever I'm going to be embroidering. And then for mine, I actually put another piece of like a lining fabric, a thin, lightweight woven, over the top so that none of the threads would get snagged.
Now let's explore hems and length in order to customize our jean sewing patterns.
One of the easiest ways to play around with your pattern is to leave a raw hem. This can be done for any of the versions of Crescendo or really any other jean pattern. All you're going to do is omit that extra seam allowance for the hem, cut it off, use a seam ripper to kind of pull the strings a little bit, and you can wash it and you'll get a nice frayed edge. This is something we're seeing all over in fashion: wide leg, straight leg, skinny. A frayed hem is always a fun idea. The other thing that you can do with your hem is to add a cuff to your hem. So you can insert like a little cute woven print, piece of fabric inside there. You could even make a facing with the woven print, or you could just tuck that woven print inside of the upturned hem and then sew that in with the top stitching, and then have it kind of peek out when you fold up that hemline. Now, the other thing we've seen lately is an extra wide hem. On this pattern, the regular hem has the top stitching about a ½ inch from the bottom of the hem, and it's turned up 2 times, so it's actually an inch contained inside that hemline. If you wanted to add an extra wide hem, you would just add a few extra inches, like 2 or 3 extra inches when you cut your pattern pieces, and then you can give that extra wide hem when you're top stitching. And of course, this pattern has a beautiful fitting top So it's a great place to retain that top, but then play around with the lengths. For example, you could use a 7/8 sort of length for your jeans. You could make them cropped. You could even turn them into like Bermuda shorts or even regular shorts.
So I think that this section is really one of the best parts of being a sewist, getting to customize that length and those trim details to get exactly what you want, to serve both practical and decorative purposes. It's fantastic. I am absolutely a shorty, so I am never able to get the correct length or on my jeans in ready to wear. And being able to sew them myself and get exactly the hem style that I want without having to sacrifice any of the style, that's absolutely magic. Now, let's talk about exterior finishing. From distressing to adding leather patches or even putting in some interesting things with your belt loops. Finishing the exterior of your jeans can be a great way to put in some personalization.
Now, the fabric that's required for this pattern is a 25% stretch woven. This type of denim will not really take bleach very well, so that's going to be a limitation when it comes to working on the exterior finish. In fact, if you do try to bleach fabric that contains elastane or spandex in it, it's going to color that part of the fabric like a yellow sort of color, and it's going to degrade the fabric inside of that elastane or spandex, so I would not recommend bleaching, but you could probably dye this fabric. Most of the fabric that I've seen is on the darker side, so again, going from a darker color to any other lighter color is going to be tough. So instead, I would suggest distressing the fabric. This can be achieved in a lot of different ways. In fact, I remember when I was younger, my parents would always get annoyed with us wanting to have ripped jeans. And I remember the stores even would sell like kits to go along with the jeans that would have all the stuff that you would need to just like trash them that look a little bit too pristine. So you can use pumice stones in the wash. So Tammy got these a while ago, and you just stick the pumice stones into the wash it, a ton of times, and that's going to give a little bit of that more natural wear appearance. I have also seen people use like 60 grit sandpaper, even a cheese grater, and even a shaving razor to just go over some of those stress points in the fabric, for example, on the knees or around the pockets or around the backside, and just give it some texture, some holes, some wear inside of the fabric. If you're looking for another very easy and sort of subtle, pretty finish for your exterior, I would try using the selvage edge of your fabric, of your denim fabric, for the top of the pockets. This was something that Katie Kennedy did when she got her fabric from Raspberry Creek. She noticed that the selvage edge was so pretty, and so she just lined the pocket up there, and then she didn't have to hem or finish off the top of the pocket. Now let's talk about some structural finishes for the exterior. The belt loops for this pattern are not necessary. This is a pull-on pattern, so there's elastic inside, and you're not going to need a belt for this, but they're cute with the belt loops. If you wanted to use the belt loops in a creative way, there's a couple of things that you could do. You could create a cute little denim tie, or you could even create a drawstring to loop through the belt loops. You could even work on doubling up the loops. You could crisscross them in the back. I have a pair of jeans that have a crisscross belt loop in the back, and I just love how those feel. Everything feels just really sturdy, and I just love the look of that folded over belt loop piece. Super easy to do. You could even play around with making wider belt loops, or putting on extra little flare pieces on your belt loops just to play around with that exterior.
So as you can see, adding distressing and working with some of the structural details on the outside of your jeans can really add a lot of character. Now let's talk about patchwork. Adding fabric patches, even painting or using appliques can all be wonderful ways to decorate the exterior of your jeans and capture your personal style.
So you don't have to put patches on just when you get holes in the jeans. You can in fact create your own holes and then use patches to cover them up. You can put those on the pockets, the knees, or even the back of your jeans. I also like the idea of reinforcing the knees and the thigh area with some purposeful patches. Another way to use patches is those little leather patches that we see on our traditional jeans. You can very easily grab just a couple of pieces of leather from the craft stores, and then use your own leather stamping set. You just wet the leather a little bit, and then use that little press stamp piece along with like a metal rod and a hammer, and then it'll impress the shape onto the leather, and then you can cut that out and sew that on. Another way to personalize is through appliques. You can buy these at the craft store with, your initials or a sports team or other important things, or you can buy them from an online seller. For example, one of our ambassadors, Embroidery, has a embroidery patch sew-on business, and she can make a personalized item for you to put onto any item of clothing, and I think this would be a great place for your jeans to get a special patch. You can also decorate the outside of your fabric by using markers or paint and stencils. If you're going to be doing a simple repeating design, I would say less is more, but I would use a small pattern if you're going to be covering the whole pair, or something larger if you're going to just be going through a couple of spots. For example, like hearts on the knees or a handprint on the back. Make sure that you double check those markers or the paint will adhere correctly and permanently.
So whether you're going for a boho look with patches, or if you're wanting more of a romantic style with some appliques, or even if you'd like to have a more functional piece with some reinforcement at the knees or at the thighs, adding in these special details can really help your project shine. Next up, top stitching is one of the easiest and most accessible ways to add in some extra features for your jeans. You're already going to be adding in top stitching to some extent, so why not get a little creative with it? Here are some great ideas for that.
Of course, when you're top stitching, you're going to want to be using top stitching thread. Typically with jeans, we would use that golden thread, and it's a thicker thread that really does well in the sewing machine and making those double lines. But what if you played around with the color? Let's think about using a contrasting color for our top stitching throughout the whole piece, and you can really have a project that stands out. As you're top stitching, you also might want to explore different stitch patterns on your sewing machine. I know that my sewing machine has dozens and dozens of stitches that I have not even tried yet, and maybe using a few of them for the top stitching throughout my jeans would be a great place to play. Again, just make sure you're using a denim needle and the correct top stitching thread. Now remember, around the pattern there's going to be what are called bar tacks, especially around the faux fly and on the sides and the pockets, and maybe even sometimes you could use them on the belt loops. But you might want to play around with the style of bar tacks that you use, or add in a couple extra bar tacks, or even use a different kind of stitch for your bar tacks. You can also play around with the designs on your pockets using top stitching thread. So kind of similar to the embroidery style, you could use your machine instead to create maybe your initials, or you could replicate that standard like Levi sort of swoop. So there's a lot of ways that you can create something special on different parts of your project. So consider your top stitching approach and use some of those ideas to get started. Whether you are simply adding in your initials with a straight stitch, or you're going a little bit extra with your top stitching details, take a second to think about how you can use each of these techniques in your next project. And there you have it, a full rundown of tons of different ways that you can embellish your jeans. So I highly recommend that you pick up the Crescendo Jeans sewing pattern. It's a pull-on jeans pattern with 4 different leg styles. It's meant for stretch woven fabric, which makes it ultra comfortable and really
beautiful. Anybody could sew this pattern, even the most inexperienced. This is very, very approachable. So I hope that once you get your jeans sewing pattern going, that you take some time to add in those special touches. And if you're curious about the rest of the jeans ready sewing patterns available from Love Notions, we just posted a blog post that has a rundown of all of our jeans ready sewing patterns, comparing their fit, their styles, their options, their fabric, and everything that you might want to know before you make your decision about a jeans pattern. And if you're excited about the Crescendo jeans like I am, and you're ready to dive in and you've sewn up your first pair already, which we've seen several do, thank you so much. Make sure that you participate in our challenge. Just post your picture on any social media and tag it with hashtag SewItFirstLN, and just make sure to tag us so that we can give you credit and some kudos and thank you. And we'll also enter you to win a $50 store credit to the Love Notions shop, just to say thank you and to say that we so appreciate you getting excited with us about this pattern. We have been blown away by the reception to the Crescendo jeans sewing pattern. It has surpassed all of our goals already, and we are so excited that so many people are getting into sewing their own jeans. This is something that everybody struggles with to some extent, finding jeans in stores that fit great and look great. So we are so excited for people to have an option that will suit all of their needs. If you like videos like this, let me know. Leave me a comment, say hi in the comments below. We love to hear from you, and make sure that you like and follow and subscribe and all the things so that we can stay in touch. Tammy's got some extremely exciting patterns coming for this spring and summer. I can't wait for you to see them. They're already like midway, almost ready for testing. They're through development, and she's really got some beautiful pieces that are going to be perfect for you. So stay in touch with us, and we'll help you find patterns that you're going to love to sew and to wear. Have a wonderful weekend, and we thank you so much for watching.